I think this iPhone might solve all of my problems. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Greg here. Yes, it's me. Another year around the sun, and we got new iPhones coming out, and I indeed have purchased an iPhone 15 Pro Max. Now, I usually make these videos because for some reason, the people who watch my channel are very interested in what iPhone I am buying this year, so I really do make these videos for you because they are popular. If they weren't popular, I wouldn't make them because no one wants to watch them, right? Like, no one wants to watch me. I'm surprised people even want to watch me. Why would anyone want to watch me? I don't know, but they do. So they want to know not only, why I'm buying the iPhone 15 Pro Max this year, but they also want to know what color I'm getting and what specific configuration of the phone I am getting. So I'm going to answer all of that in this video. And really, truly, I genuinely mean this. I am buying the iPhone 15 Pro Max more than just because I have to. Now, listen, every year I do have to buy a new iPhone, but for this time, legitimately, even if I wasn't reviewing smartphones and I was on this iPhone 14 Pro Max, I think I would be buying a new iPhone 15 Pro Max this year because of all the features that Apple announced that I think are really going to improve the way I use my phone. And that's always my advice to you. Like, if you're on an iPhone right now, you really need to look at the upgrades and the benefits and go, okay, is this actually meaningfully going to improve the way that I use my phone and the feature sets that Apple is introducing here? Is that going to make a difference? So for me, I think it is, and I want to walk you through all of that in this video. So let me walk you through a little bit of history in my last few iPhone purchases. Coming from the iPhone 13, I got the iPhone 13 Pro. That was my main phone. I really like that phone. I like the size of it. I like the camera. But when I was using it, I found that I was taking so many videos and so many photos with this device that it really couldn't live up to my demanding workflow in terms of battery life, and especially when it started to age, the battery life just wasn't keeping up to pace. So when the iPhone 14 came out, I decided, okay, time to go big or go home, and I got the iPhone 14 Pro Max. And I made a video basically talking about why I got the iPhone 14 Pro Max and the things I was worried about having this bigger model. And I gotta say, the things I was worried about with this bigger model kind of turned out to be true. Now, there were things I liked about this model, namely the battery life. The battery life on this device has been absolutely amazing. So that is something I am very happy with the 14 Pro Max. But what wasn't amazing was the size of this phone, which I still kind of don't like. I feel like it's a little bit too big for me. I don't know if I just have small hands, but putting this thing in my pocket, sometimes like if I'm wearing not jeans, if I'm wearing more comfortable pants, it'll like slip out of my pocket constantly. And then, there's just a big presence in my pocket. I don't want to say it like that, but yeah, this phone, you really feel it in your phone pocket, where with the smaller phones, it was less noticeable. Also with the size of the phone, it's not even so much like the one-handed usage of it. It's just the weight of the phone. The 14 Pro Max, it's a very heavy phone. I've been saying it since the beginning. I just don't like the way this phone feels in my hands when I'm using it for a prolonged period of time. Those are my biggest complaints with it, right? The size and the weight. Well, the iPhone 15 Pro Max might solve some of those issues, namely with the weight. So Apple is now using a new titanium material, and they even said in their press conference that this is going to help reduce the weight. Now, the official figures of this weight reduction from the Pro Max models is about 19 grams. And that might not sound like a lot, but this is the lightest Pro Max model that Apple has ever made. And based on the hands-on impressions at this event, the people who are used to these phones picked them up and basically said, oh, it is noticeably lighter in your hand. And based on, past phones I've used, if I looked at their older weights, I think I'm going to be more comfortable with the weight of this 15 Pro Max. I think it's going to be a way more comfortable phone to hold. I also really like the way that the titanium material looks on this phone and all of the images that Apple showed off at their press conferences and all of the hands-on videos. That brushed titanium siding looks great. Another big complaint from me and a lot of other people using this phone is that the sides of this are just a fingerprint magnet. So I think that's going to be gone on these new 15 Pros. Now again, I'll just reiterate, battery life is another reason I'm going with the Pro Max model this year. Like, I did consider the normal 15 Pro again, but one of the main features, besides the 5x camera lens, which I'll talk about in a second, is battery life. I just know that based on my previous usage with the normal Pro phones, they cannot get me through a heavy day of usage on a single charge. And I am using my iPhone so much for content creation now. This has become more than just like a device that I browse Twitter on or watch YouTube on, right? Like this actively helps me run my YouTube channel. And there are so many shots in all of my videos where it's like, I really need a quick shot. And it's like, oh, let me just go use my iPhone. Let me get like a really, I think they're pretty good quality shots, and you can get like up to 4K 60 footage on it. So I'm using my current iPhone 14 Pro Max all the time when it comes to content creation. And now with the rise of like short form content, like YouTube Shorts and TikTok, I feel like that's gonna just keep on going, right? Like these things are becoming just a huge part of content creation in general, which I guess just leads me into the next point, right? The camera. So that is obviously a big reason I upgrade every year, is because I want the best camera possible. Now, the main camera improvements to the 15 Pro Max, Apple didn't really tout anything too crazy, but the main thing with the camera this year is Apple does have a new 5X mode. And that's, again, one of the reasons I am gravitating towards the Pro Max rather than the regular Pro. Now, I said in my 14 Pro Max review, you can go back and look this up, when I was reviewing this phone, I said with Apple's new 2X mode that they have on the 14 Pro Max, and now also this 15 Pro Max, I said the inclusion of a 3X lens felt a little bit redundant. Like, yes, technically it could go a little farther, you can get a little clearer image out of it, but when you have a 1X, a 2X, and a 3X, it feels like there should be a bigger jump between those options. Well, Apple did that, right? So now on the 15 Pro Max, they have a 1X, a 2X, and a 5X. Now, that 5X is going to zoom in a lot farther than that 3X. And when I'm using, my current iPhone, there are times where I want to zoom in more. But when you start to zoom in past the 3X, you go into digital zoom, you start to get a really bad image. I used the S23 Ultra this year. That thing had like a 10X lens. And at times that was almost like too far in the zoom range. But yeah, you could get a photo far away, and have it zoomed in and have it look pretty decent. Way better than what the iPhone 14 Pro is capable of. So I'm not sure if this 5X range is gonna still be too short, or if it's gonna be a good middle ground between what Apple has now and what Samsung is doing with their phones. The thing I like about this 5X2, and I don't think enough people are talking about it because people are very simple-minded and they go, oh, it's worse than the Samsung one. The Samsung's 10X and the Apple one's 5X. The Apple one also has a larger aperture, a faster aperture. It's at f2.8, so it's going to let in more light. So these shots should be better in low light, and they should have more detail, should be just better photos overall. While the Samsung ones, I think, have an f4.9 aperture. So that's not going to let in as much low light. So the quality of the lens on Apple's phones, on paper at least, right? I haven't used these phones. I don't want to give it any marks right now for being better, but on paper, it should produce a better photo, at least at the 5X range. So we're gonna see when we get these phones. But yeah, I'm excited for that farther zoom. This is what I said Apple should have done last year, and they're doing it. And I have to be happy for that, because on the normal 15 Pro, you still just get a 3X lens. And I'm like, okay, I don't want another 3X lens this year. I want the 5X lens. I also like what they're doing with that 1X camera, because they have that big 48 megapixel sensor, right? So you can hit the 1X now and you can change it into different focal lengths. And if you're getting the full resolution at those focal lengths, right, like kind of doing it through software, I also think that's very interesting. And I think that's just a cool way to kind of make the iPhone appear like it has more cameras than it actually has. And Apple kind of used that in their marketing. Like, it has 7 different cameras. It really only has 3, but based on like how large the sensor is and the smart cropping they're doing with these sensors, you're kind of getting more tools in your arsenal to use. And again, as someone who's been using this for content creation, I'm all about that. Speaking of the content creation side of it, video quality. Video, iPhone video reigns supreme. Ask almost anyone. The video quality on iPhones is simply the best. And yeah, any video quality improvements they can make year over year, even small little improvements to the video quality, I'm all about that. As someone that makes YouTube videos, this is my profession, right? And I don't think I'm good at it, but I want my videos to look as good as possible. And I love how small and powerful of a tool this is. Again, I'll reiterate, I've been using iPhone footage more and more and more in my videos as the years go on. And I just think it looks absolutely fantastic. So this really has become a a tool in my own video production workflow. It's not just like a toy. And I just love the video camera on this too. Kind of loosely related to video stuff too is the 15 Pros will also have a new action button, which is kind of cool. Like I normally use the mute switch. It's usually muted like at all times. But with the action button, you can map it to quicker actions. I saw a couple use cases where maybe I'll use this. And for the 15 Pro Max, I think I'm just going to map it to the camera. So I've been talking about how important this camera is. So I think having a quick access to those camera features, being able to pop that up very quickly should be beneficial. The only thing I'm worried about is Apple currently has this tied to a press and hold. So I'm not sure how fast that's going to be, but hopefully it's fast enough. And if it's not, they could always change it through software. So if enough complaints arise, I'm pretty sure Apple will eventually change that. But I'm thinking it'll be fast enough to get that quick access. I think they're doing the press and hold because they don't want you to accidentally press the button because it, defaultly is still mapped to the mute switch. Going back to video though, the big thing for me this year is, listen, I'm going to reiterate, I'm using the iPhone so much for shooting video now. And the biggest problem with that on the 14 Pro Max is the Lightning port. This thing is so slow. Now, yeah, if you're shooting a few videos and you airdrop it, it's no problem. It's pretty fast and it's super easy to do. But listen, I did like a trip to Japan this year and I had so much iPhone footage. And when I came home and I had to like put that all onto my Mac, it took forever to do over AirDrop. I was waiting there for like 10 minutes, like waiting for all that footage. And I'm just like, I just want to edit this footage right away. Why do I have to wait for all this stuff to AirDrop over? It's taking forever. So now on the 15 Pro and Pro Max, Apple has a faster USB-C 3 port. And that's going to give you 10 gigabits per second. And it's going to be like 20 times faster than the Lightning port that they had on here. So I always found that AirDrop was faster than even transferring over the Lightning port because it was so slow. But this USB 3 cable is going to be faster than AirDrop as well. And that is going to speed up my workflow so much. I am so excited for this. The thing I keep coming back to when I think about why I'm buying the iPhone 15 Pro Max, it's because I feel like it has no compromises this year. This was a great phone. I love the 14 Pro Max, but now that we have such large video files with 4K, 60 frames per second, or if you're shooting ProRes, which the files are even larger, or if you're shooting Apple Pro RAW, per photo, it's around 70 megabytes. So this year, the phone felt pro in its camera system, but it didn't feel pro when you actually had to get those video files and photo files off of the device. So this year with the iPhone 15 Pro Max, I look at this device and I go, oh, this is a device that has no compromises because now I can use this for content creation. I can get that amazing video quality and now I can offload it fast. And I can probably offload it, if I'm thinking about it, I got my camera right here. If I'm looking at my Sony camera right here, and if I was to take out my SD card out of here and put it into the computer and start offloading footage, well, that was normally the fastest way for me to shoot a video and then get it onto my computer. But now, with the 15 Pro Max having a fast USB-C port, this is going to be the fastest thing in the pipeline right now. And that makes me super excited for the production workflow that this is going to enable for me. So that's no, Siri, it's my turn. That's no compromise, right? This phone is really, we made fun of the Pro naming scheme when it first came out. Oh, you're calling the iPhone 11 Pro? It's not Pro. The 15 Pro feels pro. They even showed off features now where you can shoot on external storage, get 4K 60 on ProRes. But yeah, I'm thinking about that and it's on the 15 Pro Max, I can just hook it up to external storage on USB-C if I ran out of internal storage, and I can shoot and offload it to there. So that feels very pro to me, and that's super exciting. Speaking of pro stuff, A17 Pro, the new chip. Now, I don't know if this new chip is exactly pro, but another thing that surprised me going into this event, and something I didn't expect to get really jazzed over, was the gaming performance on this A17 Pro chip. Now, I am not a mobile gamer. I do not play games on my iPhone. And I'm someone that does play console games and someone who dabbles with PC games. But on the phone, I just never liked the gaming experience with touch controls. And I also didn't like the quality of games that were coming onto the phone. But what Apple showed off is AAA games coming to the phone. So they're saying the A17 Pro chip is powerful enough to natively run, not stream, natively run games that are pretty new. Resident Evil Village, Resident Evil 4 Remake, which I played through on PS5. Love that game. So good. Go play it if you haven't. And the new Assassin's Creed game, which isn't out yet, apparently is going to launch alongside the PS5 and Series X version on the iPhone 15 Pro. So that took me aback. I was like, wait a minute. The phones are now powerful enough that they can play console level quality games. I own a Nintendo Switch. That thing isn't really all that powerful. The iPhone 15 Pro is probably going to be more powerful than the Nintendo Switch. So if you get like a third-party game controller, the iPhone 15 Pro Max could be a competent mobile gaming device. And that intrigued me. I'm not saying I'm going to start playing a bunch of games on my iPhone, but it deserved my respect enough to give it credit and go, this might be a moment here where the mobile gaming landscape changes, especially with the initiatives Apple is doing with gaming on Apple Silicon. It's going to take a while, right? Like, it's not going to happen overnight, but I'm thinking like 5 years down the road, Apple has a great gaming strategy here. If they can actually implement it well, they're going to be able to tell developers, all right, the chips are powerful enough to where you can write and develop a game for the iPhone, the iPad, and the Mac. Maybe even like a future cheap Apple TV box with like a A17 Pro. That's going to be a winning gaming strategy if Apple can make like a first-party controller and actually get developers to make these games. But if they can, I feel like that's very, very compelling, and it has me excited. And you see how much I had to say about the iPhone 15 Pro? I feel like people are bashing this thing as an iterative update. And listen, let's be honest, all phones at this point are pretty iterative, right? They are slabs, flat slabs, unless you got a folding phone. But you know, the normal mainstream phones, the phones that most people buy, they are flat slabs. They go in your pocket. They basically have almost no bezels at this point. They are in the iterative period, right? You're not going from the iPhone 1 to the iPhone 3G and all that stuff, right? But there's a lot of features here that I think make actual improvements to the way I use my phone. Now, the exact configuration I am getting is the iPhone 15 Pro Max. I'm going to get 512 gigabytes of storage. That's what I had on my 14 Pro Max, and I still have half the storage available. And I feel like that's kind of necessary for the amount of photos and videos I take on this device. And then I'm also getting the natural titanium color. I think, you know, that's one of the better looking colors this year. So that is the model that I am going with. But yeah, those are the reasons why I am buying an iPhone 15 Pro Max. Again, I feel like this is the year where I'm going to use this phone and I'm going to go, there are no compromises. So let me know in the comments below. Did you buy an iPhone today? Did you buy an iPhone 15 or an iPhone 15 Pro or a Pro Max or the Plus? I didn't forget about the Plus. So let me know if you bought a phone, or if you didn't, let me know why you didn't buy a new iPhone this year. As always, if you like this video, give me a like. You guys have been amazing, let me tell you. It's been a great week of iPhone coverage. The views are off the charts. What are you guys doing? Like, we're so close to 300,000 subscribers too. So go, if you're watching this right now at the end, just go subscribe. Come on, go subscribe. 300,000. The Greg train, whatever you want to call it. We're getting there. And yeah, you know, maybe I ordered an extra iPhone in this morning. Maybe I did. Maybe there'll be a giveaway when these phones start shipping. So, you know, you might want to get subscribed. All that stuff. So hopefully you like this video, and I'll see you in the next one.